called a healthy heart. This heart is the only heart that will come. Excuse me. This is the only type of heart that can stand before Allah on the Day of Judgment. The healthy heart. It's called qalbunsaleem. Allah, He says in chapter 26, verse 88 to 89, that يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ. A day, i.e. the Day of Judgment, is a day in which a person's wealth and his children will become of no benefit. No benefit. Mother will be running away from the son, the father will be running away from the daughter, the wife will be running away from the husband. None of it. The wealth, you know, the statuses that we have in this world, the different titles that we have, none of that will be beneficial. No preferential treatment. يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ, except a person who comes before Allah with a healthy heart. قَلْبٌ سَلِيمٌ, a healthy heart. This is the heart that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that can stand before Allah. A heart that is healthy. What is qalbun salim? A healthy heart is a heart that is cleansed from any passion which challenges Allah's commands. A heart that is free or that is cleansed from challenging any of the commands of Allah or disputes what He has forbidden. So in other words, in plain English, a heart which when Allah says do, He does it. When Allah says don't do, He doesn't do it. He doesn't challenge that. He doesn't go against it. That's qalbun salim. That's a healthy heart. It loves to worship Allah and follow the Sunnah. It finds it easy. Fajr Salah, he just wakes up for it. Wallahi, there's people that don't use the alarm clock. They don't. Some of us, how many alarm clocks do we have? We have one, but then there's several. 5 minutes apart, 7 minutes apart, 10 minutes apart. That snooze button is, I call it the shaitan button. You know why? Because when you are trying to be woken up for Fajr, shaitan says, go to sleep. Because he whispers this. He tells you, go to sleep. The night is still young. It's still long. He ties these 3 knots. And he says these things. The night is still young. The night is long. Go to sleep. Fajr, 1 hour, 15 minutes, it's okay. Then your fiqh comes into it. The Prophet ﷺ says, Hadith Bukhari, if you catch 1 rak'ah before the sun rises, and then you can do this, Abu Hanifa, Hanafi madhab, you can pray towards the end. All of this fiqh is given to you while you are sleeping.
Yes.
You become big alim, scholar. That will not benefit you on the day of judgment. What benefits you? Qalbun salim. A heart loves to worship Allah. Therefore, I call that the shaitan button, not the snooze. You press it. You know, in one of my classes, I was like, hey, we need to invent. I need an engineer. So far, I don't have any engineers. I told them, we need to invent an alarm clock, huh? Well, you give me an alarm clock that's you know, what kind of alarm clock would you invent? I'd like to know some ideas that you would invent in order to help you to wake up for Fajr. What kind of an alarm?
Like the water comes out.
That water comes out. That's very common, okay? Okay, which is good.
And that rings maybe 10 minutes earlier than the time that you said.
Okay, all right.
The sound of Qiyamah.
Okay, okay. Anyone else? Anyone else? Anyone else? What kind of an alarm clock?
You recite before you go to sleep.
Huh?
So that you wake up.
That
The
you?
dua that you recite before you go
Okay.
to sleep.
Anything else? I was thinking of an alarm clock that once it runs around the room. You know why?
Because you will.
Because you have to get up and start chasing it so you can snooze it. And by that time you're already halfway. Your fajr is alhamdulillah there. And I'm sure there's a design, one of those like ball type, it bounces. The water, you don't feed it, khalas, the next day it won't splash water on you. The other one, you put the snooze button and all of this. This one,
I
huh?
have a better one. An alarm clock that senses when you get up and then will just switch off, or else it will just disappear and hide itself. Yeah, it will make itself invisible until you
Yeah,
wake
why
up.
not?
Put it far away, Sheikh.
Huh?
Put it far away. But it's loud enough.
And annoying sound.
Yeah. But that alarm clock, it jumps around. It's not next thing. That is probably the more.
Check.
You go to China, you give 1 million orders, you sell it here,
Yes.
you done the next day, I'll advertise for you.
The alarm that sounds like nagging of your wife.
Oh. But
your wife's
a heart that loves to worship Allah, it turns to Him for help. It doesn't turn to anyone else. It turns to the Sunnah for guidance. It doesn't turn to any other way. Okay? It doesn't turn to, okay, let's see what this particular economists say about how we should improve the economy and how much of the interest rate it should be in order for the economy to grow. We know. What's the Sunnah of dealing with interest? So it turns to the Quran for guidance. It turns to the Sunnah for guidance. This qalbunsaleem has fear and hope in Allah. Yeah? It doesn't only have fear and no hope, and it doesn't only have hope and no fear. Both are like the two wings of a bird. And we'll talk about this particular subject on one day itself. It loves and it hates for Allah's sake. What does that mean? I was just talking to my son the other day about loving people for the sake of Allah and hating people for the. Do we Muslims hate people? Yeah, we hate people for the sake of Allah. Don't we hate Fir'aun? Or are you going to tell me, no, I like Fir'aun, but I hate his kufr? Oh, no one says that. Do we hate robbers? Or do we say, no, we love robbers, but we only hate their stealing? No, no one says that. Do we hate rapists? We hate them to the core. Them and their sins. Okay? Fir'aun, him and his sins. Right? So we hate people, but we hate them because for the sake of Allah. Okay? And when we love people for the sake of Allah. What does that mean? Just last night I was covering the hadith in Riyadh al-Salihin that to love people for the sake of Allah. And this means once a person, he was the hadith in Abu Dawood. The Prophet ﷺ said once a person, he went out to visit his brother in another town. Allah sent an angel to go. And this angel, of course, went for his protection, but on the way, and to make dua for him. And also he asked him a question, this angel in the form of a human. He said, where are you going? He said, I'm going to visit my brother in this town. I'm going to go visit him for the sake of Allah. He said, do you have any other business? Maybe he did you a favor and now you're returning that favor, or you're doing him a favor, or there's some other. He said, no, I'm doing it only because I love him for the sake of Allah. This concept of visiting people is no longer there. Wallahi, amongst us, no longer. When was the last time we visited a person in the hospital only for the sake of Allah? Let's look. You will say last month. Are you sure it was not because this person visited you, and therefore you're returning that favor? Are you sure it was not because they visited your parents, and you're doing it now for his parents or their parents? See, it's not for the sake of Allah. When was the last time we told, some people say, I love you for the sake of Allah. Of course, sisters for sisters, brothers for brothers. The brothers can't go to the sisters, I love you for the sake of Allah. No, you can't do that. Brothers cannot be going around telling the sisters, I love you for the sake of Allah. And neither can the sisters be saying, I love you, brother, for the sake of Allah. There is no shaitan is there in between. Only sisters amongst sisters and brothers amongst brothers. So when was the last time? So when someone tells you, I love you for the sake of Allah, I told him, I said, you got to be very careful what you say. I am the judge, and I'm going to now judge. Let's say I'm put in a situation where I have to judge between you and someone else I don't know. You're my friend, and you tell me you love me for the sake of Allah, right? You're my friend, and this person, he's not my friend. He's just a regular person. You guys have an argument, and you use me as an arbitrator or as the judge. And I find that the truth is with this individual and not with you, and I judge against you for him. Are you going to love me? No, you're not. You're going to have this thing against me. Hey man, I thought we were friends. Right? Why did you decide? This happens to us every day. It happens to us. Me, I'm being put into a test to see if I will be just. Yeah, Allah loves justice, and He loves those who do just. Allah says, Allah loves justice so much. He said, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kunu qawwamina bil qist. O you who believe, be ever steadfast on justice. Even if you have to be just, even if you have to testify against yourself, do it. That's how much I love justice. If you are debating with someone and you're wrong, even say, yes, I'm wrong. You see that you are now you're doing justice against yourself. Do it. That's how much Allah loves it. Forget about your parents, forget about your kids, even against yourself. So if I was to do that kind of a justice, you think He's going to tell me, I love you for the sake of Allah? He will not tell me unless He loves me truly for the sake of Allah. In which case He say, I love you because Allah, He is just. You implemented one of the justice or one of the qualities of Allah, and therefore now I truly love you. Yes, that kind of a person. Do you understand right now which position we're in? You guys see that? See how far we are? You see, everything we know about love is actually not love. It's artificial. Everything made in China. Just put some pressure on it, it breaks. Is Iman weak, strong, or is it heavy or light? Tell me. Iman.
Heavy.
Heavy. You put it in a heavy container, in a strong container, or in a weak one, plastic? Strong. This is what we're trying to do. Make this heart strong. Iman is heavy. You put pressure on the weak heart, it will break. You make the heart pure, you make it strong. You know what these samurais, they have the samurai sword. You know what the samurai sword goes through? Do you guys know?
Yeah.
What does it go through? You tell me.
The process of
The process, and what is that process? That process, that
pressure.
samurai, not only pressure, not only heat, pain, drilling. It takes like months for it to be prepared. They take it, they mold one over the other, and then he puts it in the fire, and then in the furnace he takes it out, and then he until you know why? You know why? Because at the heat of the battle, you don't want that sword to break on you. So at the heat of your fitna, you don't want your iman to give in.
Yes.
What's the biggest heat of the fitna? Dajjal. And you will find people, scholars, selling their religion. Right? Yesterday he was with that government, now he's with this government. Yesterday he was speaking good, and now, because he's not in power, now he's saying this. See? So he's a scholar of fiqh. And not to put fiqh down. But that's the only thing he has. You guys all know how to pray, you guys all know how to do hajj, you guys know the basics, yeah? But that's not really taking you to Jannah. So this samurai sword, if it was to break during this 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks period of, this, you know what they do? They don't say, okay, let's fix it. No, they throw it. They throw it away. And by the way, this process in the Arabic language is called fitna. You guys know this, right? Fitna. This process of the ironsmith, doing this and hitting it. And why? To purify the dirt and the contaminants from this pure metal. That's what it is. And that's when we say Allah has made a person maftoon, Allah is trying to purify him from all of this contaminants. So that's what a fitna. So fitna is not necessarily bad, no? It's actually a positive word. So when the Prophet said woman is a fitna, it doesn't mean she's bad, she's ugly, she's like this. A lot of people misunderstand this hadith. She's used to purify the men. See, if you're going to fall this way or that way. Yeah? My wife is a fitna to me. Doesn't mean she's bad. That means am I going to stand up on my feet to be providing for her and the whole longness, yeah? So the samurai sword, why? Because that guy, he knows this needs to withstand all of this so he can be prepared. We're trying to prepare. What's the biggest fitna besides Dajjal, of course? What's the biggest? Death. You know what? Shaitan comes with all of his forces because he knows that time, make it or break it. That is when I need to take him. How many people? One doctor, he told me, he said, I had 36 patients die under my, not because he was a bad doctor. 36, he said, every single one of them, I told them, say la ilaha illallah, say la ilaha illallah, say la ilaha illallah. Only 2 or 3 said it. So what's the success rate? 3%. Right? 3%? 1%. 1%. That's the success rate. Say la ilaha. Because that's when shaitan, I was young, I was 8 years old. And my dad took me to a person who was on his deathbed. And, we recite Surah Yasin. At that time I didn't know, the status of Surah Yasin. Yes, Surah Yasin is a surah of the Quran, but in terms of the virtues, yeah? In terms of the virtues. So I recited Surah Yasin. This person, he had all his family members, everyone around him. And the way he died was talking about his wealth and because he owned a few petrol stations and whatnot. And he was talking about what to do with the petrol, with the money, and this is how he died. Why? The love of his business and his wealth was in that. He was saying this. That's how he died. Another person comes, he takes the Quran, he throws it, he says, I don't believe in you, and he dies. Another person, his girlfriend from Thailand, he goes, haram relationship, goes make sajda to him. In that sajda, he dies. He makes sajda to her. Why? Men, when they become infatuated with a woman, they'll do anything. When did Allah take away? When did Allah take away the Khilafah When did Allah take away Andalus from the Muslims? When the so-called Muslim king of Andalusia made sajda to his wife. Men are crazy like that. That's how women are fitna for men. So now you tell me. He was thinking, okay, I'll say La ilaha illallah. And he said the opposite. Make sajda to his girlfriend. And that's how he dies. So he loves and hates for the sake of Allah. Don't ever love someone who is the enemy of Allah. And don't ever hate someone who is the friend of Allah. You do that, you're in the worst. You know, Allah doesn't declare war with too many people. There's only 3 people Allah declares war. 3 people. One of them is a friend of Allah. One of them is the enemy of the friend of Allah. Okay?
Enemy of the friend.
Yeah. Allah doesn't declare war on too many people. There's only 3 types of people. A person who deals it with interest. You know, riba. Oh, it's my sister, brother, come, we're having open house. I have big potluck. For what? About the house. Oh, mashallah, what you paying it? You know, the whole riba thing. Mashallah, you're proud. You're declaring war with Allah. Allah says, فَأَذَنُوا بِحَرْبٍ مِنَ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. Announce, I'm declaring war. Allah and His Prophet declaring war with the person who deals with interest, usually. Second person is who? A person who has pride. You know, proud. Arrogant. He has his nose up in the sky. And he's walking. Nowadays, society teaches us he's confident. You see how I'm saying? Every society, just like society say, oh, but you need to have a house. We don't want these other kinds of people taking over our country and this and that. That's what society teaches us, right?
Yes.
What the hell is society if it goes against the word of Allah? Allah says in the Quran, وَعَدَ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. Those who believe, Allah promises those who believe. Do righteous deed, they will be the Khalifa of the earth. Are we Khalifa on the earth? No. We have our land taken away. And then not only taken away, kicked out from our lands as well. Okay? Why, you guys? Why? Did anyone ask that question? You ask the political scientists, all of these other so-called experts, yeah? You ask them, why? But Allah says in the Quran, if we know Allah is truthful in His promises, which He is, then this ayah doesn't make sense to me. Allah says, لَيَسْتَخْلِفَنَّهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ. I will make him the vicegerent, i.e. the Khalifa, the owner of this earth, if he believes and he does righteous good deeds. And I will make him have a foothold and honor amongst the people on this earth. Do we have honor? We're the most dishonorable people. Muslims, they laugh. Cheaper than oil. Our blood is cheaper than oil. They kill us for oil. Whereas them, you kill one of them, you pay millions in blood money. For us, you know how much? $2,000. And Israeli kills, Palestinians, 2,000. 2,000. And then the opposite, millions. You see how? So how is this possible? Allah is saying one thing, but yet something else is happening, and we're saying, oh Allah, believers. No, that means everything we are doing the opposite of being believers. Everything. Just look at the Sahaba. No one wanted to rule over them. The worst of the worst. The Romans, when they looked there, they said, what do we want from these people? They're barbarians. But once Iman entered their hearts, what happened? Not only they became civilized, they ruled over the so-called civilized people. They didn't gain honor from clothes. Each one of them were owners of houses and lands and everything, you know. It comes in the books of fiqh, like Imam Ahmed, and all of them. You'll never hear of the scholar of the past dying from hunger. They actually died from overeating. You guys know that? Like Imam Muslim. He ate so much he died the next day. Imam Muslim, the Sahih Muslim, the second best book of Hadith. So, what was I saying originally? You know this heart, this iman and heart, right? Please. Thank you very much. You guys know the atom bomb? Atom bomb, the nuclear bomb. I'm a biochemist, so we've studied nuclear chemistry for one semester. This is an atom living or non-living? It's non-living. It's non-living. You put this non-living thing into, this is an atom, and then you bombard this with electrons. Okay? This atom will create such a fission, right, that it can destroy a non-living thing. And you bombard it with so many other non-living electrons. It will create such a fission, it can destroy hundreds of thousands of people in 1 second, in 1 minute, right? What if you have a living thing? The heart. Not big enough? They said this is how the heart looks like, so I'm going to draw it like the heart. I'm no heart surgeon. And you fill it with Allah and Iman. What kind of damage will you do to batil, to falsehood, to shaitan? You fill it with Iman. What kind of positive damage, of course, can you do? If something non-living can do so much, what about something living? You put Iman in this heart. Look at the Sahaba. Didn't they do it? Look at what kind of damage they did. Of course, positive damage to the world. They brought justice. They brought prosperity. They brought what you call the golden age, right? They brought this. Wallahi, the Jews wanted to live amongst under the rule of the Muslims. Everyone. That's what Iman can do. So we don't know the power of the heart. But of course, the heart that's filled with Iman. You really, really don't. We're going to explore that, inshallah. It does not, qalbunsaleem, does not give precedence. I'll just cover this and then we're done. It does not give precedence to anyone other than Allah and His Messenger. That's called qalbunsaleem. Chapter 49, verse 1. Allah, He says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, la tuqaddimu bayna yaday Allahi wa rasulih. O you who believe. Okay? Do not prefer anyone before Allah and His Prophet. What does that mean? It means you love your husband so much. You guys are newlyweds. And then you guys want to go out for honeymoon to Australia or what is it? Hawaii or Europe. And then this husband says, you know, honey, I think you take out your hijab. And then Allah says, your husband. So who do you give precedence? Qalbunsaleem does not give precedence or preference to anyone before Allah. You tell your husband, I love you very much and I know you love me too. And I'm willing to take off this hijab for you. If you are willing to go with me inside the grave and keep me company. Because I know it's very lonely and I know it's very dark and it's very this and that. So I like to have some company. If you can promise you will go with me inside the grave when I'm being buried, then of course I will take it. And then you can also answer the question of the graves for me. Yeah. And on the day of judgment, if my book of deeds is less, you can give me. Ya Allah, then I'll do anything for you. If he says no, then why should I give you preference over the Prophet ﷺ from whose hand I will be drinking the water from the pool? And because of my following of his sunnah, he will do shafa'ah for me. And. You guys understand? So we have qalbunsaleem, and the next, tomorrow inshallah? Tomorrow we'll talk about the dead heart and, oh sorry, I gave it away. We'll talk about the second heart and the third heart. Inshallah. If I give it away, then you guys will say, okay, khalas, we already know it.